All right. I'm going to talk about one more team because I do think that we need to talk about this team. It's the low hanging fruit, Brad. You talked about it in an earlier segment.
Oh boy.
We got to talk about the Chicago Bulls in this really what seems to be player only meetings, people bickering and yelling at each other, Billy Donovan losing the locker room, losing the team. I feel like DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine aren't seeing eye to eye on everything. Chicago is a mess, and they had that player only meeting just one game into the season.
Yeah.
It was the same night as their first game. Yep.
And it just seems like they just lost the other night. Zach LaVine had 51. It was amazing, but they still lost by 16. And so I guess the biggest question mark that I have for Chicago, and really for you guys to help me answer, is what does this team do? Because it just seems like nothing for them is going to click, and I just feel like they're kind of delaying the inevitable, which is they're going to probably trade some of these pieces away and try to rebuild or do whatever they can, but it's not looking too great right now for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time for them to. I said my prediction was they would blow it up after they got spanked in the in-season tournament. I think they're going to blow it up sooner than that. The way this season looks like it's going, having team meetings after the first game is insane.
Yeah, dude, it's this team is everything we've always talked about. There's just no consideration for long-term planning. They have zero. There's no idea of what it's going to be even a month or two from now, let alone 2 seasons from now. Like, there's no way most of this team is still there in 2 seasons, but they're acting as if we need to just keep trying to hold it together. But what's the point? Like, your coach is abysmal. Billy Donovan is terrible. I called him the missionary position equivalent of a coach last week. I feel very strongly that might be generous. It might be generous for Billy Donovan. But dude, there's problems everywhere. Like, Patrick Williams, this is a guy saying he wants a 5-year, $200 million
He's
contract.
terrible. Oh my
Like,
gosh.
he is awful. I mean, he officially a bust, in my opinion. I don't think there's any way you could say he's not a bust at this point. He was the 4th overall pick only a few years ago. I mean, the dude is putting up 0 points in games like pretty regularly at this point. It's just not. It's not it, And there's no cohesion. Like, I don't understand how a team just consistently gets worse chemistry like this team does. Like, every time you look, they seem like they like each other less, and they don't know what they're doing on the court together even less. Because, like, even LaVine had his 51-point game last night, right? He was 17 of 32. He took 32 shots, right? That's a ton of shots for a team that has DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic on the team too, but that's kind of what it is with them. Like, they never got out of their your turn, my turn thing. And then even when they did, this is basically what it amounts to. One of the two of their guys just takes a bunch of shots, and they either hopefully win or they don't. But yeah, they need to do anything they can. The problem is they missed their opportunity to really tank in like super good drafts. Like, the next 2 drafts, we haven't really talked about any of the guys coming up in the next couple of years, but these are pretty weak draft classes coming up. Like, they're not as good as the last few have been. So this is kind of what you get for, Bernie, you're going to like this one. I'm going back to old school terms for the charge here, but they have neglected the timeline to such a degree that they have very little hope of getting back like on a good timeline anytime soon. So I would hate to be a Chicago Bulls fan right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a rough situation for the Chicago Bulls right now. 1-2 to start the season. Zach LaVine, could we see him get traded? And if so, really, what do you guys think is like the root cause of the issues in Chicago? I mean, I know the coach is probably the biggest one. I feel like Billy Donovan just hasn't really connected with his players very well, and it just seems like he's more of like a college guy than an NBA guy. But is there any guys on the team that you think are kind of some, I'm not saying issues, but do you think that there's any guys on the team that are making the situation
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's mostly play styles, and it's a combination of both. It's a combination of Billy Donovan not being a very good coach, and then at least for this team, and then play styles. Like DeRozan and Zach both want the ball. They both want to shoot. Vooch wants to shoot. He doesn't want to rim protect. They need rim protection because Zach and DeRozan aren't the best perimeter defenders. It's
Mhm.
just like the play styles, they don't mesh, and then they miss Lonzo. Most importantly, Lonzo made their defense better than what it was because he's a great point of attack defender. So he would stop most penetration from happening on their pause with their guards. And
Mhm.
then he also made sure everyone was fed. Like he wasn't your traditional point guard, but he was getting them to run out in transition and then feeding everybody like quick passes to DeRozan, quick passes to Zach, picking
Mhm.
pops with Vooch. So now without Lonzo feeding everybody, like you see like the discontent. Like Zach wants the ball and he takes 32 shots, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
DeRozan the night before does what he does, and you know cooks his old team, and Zach doesn't do anything. So it's just too much. My turn, your turn. I'm on, you're off.
Yeah.
It's bad basketball.
I agree
Well,
with
and I
that.
hate to be just straight up disrespectful too, but honestly, they're not very good. Like outside of the fact that they don't play very well together,
Mhm.
even their best two guys are overrated in how they're viewed as NBA stars. Like, I'm sorry to say this. I mean, especially for any Chicago Bulls fans. I mean, at best, on like championship caliber teams, I don't think DeRozan or Levine is better than a third best guy. Like, that's just my opinion. At this point in their career, I just don't see it. Do you guys think like Levine? I don't even think it's a question for DeRozan. Is that are we in
For
agreement on
DeRozan,
that?
I agree. Zach, I feel
Do
like
we? He could be the second best guy on a championship team.
it would depend on the team. Like if you put him, I've seen this a lot all over the place. So I'm just gonna say like if we put him on the Warriors, and we
Okay.
have him as the second best, like second option behind Steph, I think he could be that guy. Like I really do, because just the way he
Yeah.
can score. You put him next to other good defenders. He's not the only good defender he's playing with right now is Caruso, maybe Patrick Williams. But like
Mm, yeah.
I feel like if you put him in, or if you put him on the Heat, man, I want to give
Yeah.
credit to Zach, bro. 51, that's impressive. The first 50
Nice,
ball of the
but
season.
There's
I mean,
51,
if
but
you're any good, you should score 51 if you take 32 shots. You should.
I don't know, man. It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
I'm not saying it's easy. I couldn't score 1 point in the NBA. I'm just saying you should be scoring that much if you shoot that much.
You
I
should.
think there's 60 guys in the NBA that if they took 32 shots in a game, they could score 51. I think it's probably more than 60 to be fair. Like
That's
that's a
fair.
ton of
How
shots.
many of those guys do you think would be like? Would you categorize as being able to be a second option on a team, on a good team?
Yeah, I don't know if I feel that way about Levine though. I honestly think there's one team in the league I could see him being, and it's just because I think the guy that's in the place he could fill he could do like a kind of an okay job, and that's the Nuggets. Like honestly, if he was Jamal Murray's spot, I could see that team still being a championship contender, personally.
I would.
That's
That's damn. I would not go there. Jamal's a much better playmaker than Zach.
Yeah, but I just think like I mean, Jokic is such an incredible playmaker that we don't account for how much better that makes Murray as a playmaker. Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't think Levine is the second best guy on any championship team. I personally don't. I don't see it. I don't think he's a good enough defender, and honestly, I don't think he's a good enough playmaker in any sense for most teams. Um, but
That's true.
realistically, like it's just the Bulls, man. It's
yeah.
false expectations. It's a life lesson I learned from the great Jalen Rose back in the day. I legitimately live by this quote. He always says, "Happiness is a function of great or realistic expectations." Excuse me. I always think about that personally in my real life, but I think that this is a great example of that. If they had realistic expectations for this team, what else would they expect than what's happening right now? You would. uh, This is the team that you put out on the
Mhm.
court. They're not good. It is what it is. You put out a bad squad. You didn't improve for 3 straight years.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's brutal to watch. I mean, like even looking at the box score from that night, 29 assists compared to 16, and Zach Levine had 0. That's And again, he
51
Maybe he's the
points.
Michael
that's
Porter.
their
Maybe
assist.
he's the Michael Porter on Denver.
That is some pure bucket hoops. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the definition of like LA Fitness Hooper, right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But maybe
Um,
maybe not anymore with LA Fitness in their floor. But the point still stands.
Pretty much. I want to say the Bulls starting lineup is. I love like the data behind this because I'm kind of like a data nerd, so I look at NBA.com like every day to see how this stuff sorts out. But their starting lineup is DeRozan, Vooch, Zach, Kobe White, Patrick Williams in 10 minutes played. Like, because Billy Donovan rotates them, but like they're -4 in all their minutes played together. Their only positive lineup is with Caruso. No shocker there.
Yeah.
Caruso makes all their lineups positive. Other than that, all their lineups are negative.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you got Kobe White, who's not really a point guard in my opinion. I think he's more of like a 2 guard. And then you got I mean, really, Caruso's the only point guard on that team. And he's more of a 2 anyway.
Yeah, he's a 2 as well.
Yeah.
Their roster is so bad.
So
A good question would be if they do blow it up, where do we think they send someone like Caruso? Because he would, I'd imagine, change the landscape of a contender.
If there's any team I don't want him to go to because they don't deserve how well he fits their team, it's Phoenix. I pray he does not go. If he goes to Phoenix, I will send a letter to the NBA headquarters myself saying this must be stopped. This is not
for real.
fair. It's too perfect of a fit.
NBA vet
I
minimum.
genuinely would be upset if he went there.
Yeah.
He
But-
should honestly the Lakers. The Lakers should be calling too. Any of those teams.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
The older teams that are kind of riddled by possible injury but also just old legs, they don't really want to have super high defensive effort type games. Those are the teams that should be calling about Caruso. I honestly can't believe he's still on there. Every team should be calling. The Warriors should be calling.
I think the Bucks should call.
Absolutely. The
Bucks-
Bucks, he would help every team.
Yeah.
Bucks should definitely be calling. That's actually a great shout, Bernie. That might be the
They
second
need it.
team behind Phoenix that
They-
needs them the most.
They need that perimeter defense.
Yeah.
Trey Young plays them today. We'll see what he does. If
Yeah.
Trey Young can't get his game off against that perimeter defense,
It's over. It's over.
I'm putting him on the
Yeah.
trade block.
It's Jover. All right. But let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of the Chicago Bulls? Are they officially cooked, or can the season be saved with another player meeting tonight? I don't believe that they play tonight per se, but let me check the full scoreboard, make sure that they don't. No.
Talking about Chicago?
Yeah. I think they play tomorrow, Monday. Yeah, they play Monday against the Pacers, and so we'll see if they can get their lick back, get their bounce back against them. But let us know in the comment section down below what do you guys make of the Chicago Bulls and what future they might have with or without some of their superstar players. Let us know in the comment section down below.